It was 11 degrees outside the night I want to tell you about. And 11 degrees is the kind of cold that finds every gap in a wall and walks straight through it. Inside, it was 79. No furnace, no electric heater humming in the corner eating money off the meter, no wires running to the thing at all. Just a squat metal box against the wall, glowing warm and orange behind a pane of glass like a little fireplace, throwing out more heat than a room that size had any right to hold. A gallon of oil a week ran it. $2.50 the gallon, bought wholesale. Less than the price of one coffee a week to keep a room warm through the whole of winter. The boy stood in front of it with his hands out to the glass, the way you do, and he said, "How is this not going to kill us?" And I want you to notice that question, because it is the right one, and it is the exact question the man who inspired this whole build never once answered. He built a fine heater. He filmed it glowing away in his little cabin, and he said the words that worry me more than anything else a man can say about a fire indoors. He said, "No fumes." There is no such thing as no fumes. And by the end of this, you are going to understand why that phrase is the most dangerous thing in this entire video, and how we build the same warmth without letting it hurt anybody. Stay with me, because the heat is the easy part. Living to enjoy it is the part worth learning. Let me show you the thing first, and then I will show you what keeps it honest. The heart of it is a metal box. We used a steel ammunition box, the kind that seals tight that you can find cheap. Into that box goes the oil, held in a reservoir, and up out of the oil come the wicks. Braided lamp wicks, the same as an old oil lamp your great-grandmother would know, only many of them stood in a row instead of the one. 10 of them in our build. Each one draws the oil up and burns it at the tip, and 10 small flames together, side by side behind glass, put out a real and serious heat. Over the front we set a pane of high-heat glass, the oven kind, seated on a gasket that can take the temperature, because ordinary glass would crack and ordinary rubber would cook and stink. The glass does two things. It lets the light out, so the box glows like a hearth, and it keeps the flames steady, out of the draft, so they burn clean and even instead of guttering. The box itself gets hot, 500 degrees at the top, hot enough to cook on, and that heat is what we are after. But a hot box alone only warms the air that happens to touch it, so we move that air. A small fan, the kind that cools a computer, runs off 12 volts, off a little battery even, no wall socket needed, and it pushes the cold air of the room up along the hot metal and out the other side, warm. That is the whole trick of a convection heater. You do not wait for the heat to drift to you. You send the cold air to the fire, and the fire hands it back warm. A room that would take an hour to warm by standing still warms in minutes when you move the air through the iron. Behind the box, on the wall, a board of cement, the fireproof kind, painted black. That is not decoration. That is so the wall behind a 500-degree box does not become the beginning of a house fire. And a hand's width of air gap between the box and that board, so nothing sits directly against the heat. My grandmother had a rule about fire in a wagon, and the rule was that fire is a good dog and a bad master, and you never once turn your back on it as though it were furniture. It is not furniture. It is a living thing you are keeping in a box, and it wants out. That is the build. It is a good build. The man who dreamed it up did fine work. Now let me tell you the part that keeps it from killing your family in their sleep, because this is where I part ways with him entirely. When oil burns, it does not simply turn into heat and vanish. Nothing vanishes. It turns into heat and light and water and two gases. One of them is carbon dioxide, the same you breathe out, and in a stuffy room, too much of it will make you dull and heavy-headed. The other is carbon monoxide, and carbon monoxide is the quiet killer, and I'm going to be plain about it because plain is what saves lives. Carbon monoxide has no smell. None. You cannot smell it coming. It has no color. You cannot see it. It does not sting your eyes or catch your throat or give you any of the warnings your body knows how to give. What it does is this. It gets into your blood, and it takes the place where the oxygen is supposed to sit, and it will not let go. And so your blood goes on circulating, but it stops carrying the air. And you do not feel yourself choke because nothing is choking you. You feel sleepy. You feel warm and drowsy and content in your nice warm room, and you close your eyes, and that is all. Every winter there is a family in the paper who lit something indoors to stay warm and simply did not wake up. And they never smelled a thing because there was nothing to smell. Now, hear me on why this matters double for a heater like ours. That man said no fumes, and here is the trap in it. A flame that burns clean, a good blue-tipped, steady flame with plenty of air, makes very little of the poison. But a flame starved of air, a flame in a sealed room, a wick left too long that smokes and soots, that flame makes far more of it. And here is the cruel circle. 10 flames in a shut room slowly eat the oxygen. As the oxygen thins, every one of those flames burns dirtier. Dirtier flames make more poison in a room that already has less air. The longer it runs, the worse it gets, and it gets worse fastest at night when you are asleep and the house is shut tight against the cold. The very conditions that make the heater feel best, sealed up, no draft, running all night, are the exact conditions that make it deadliest. That is why no fumes is not just wrong. It is wrong in the most dangerous possible direction. So we do not seal the room. Ever. That is the first law, and there is no arguing with it. Here is how we make it safe, and none of it is hard, and none of it costs much. First, the room breathes. A heater that burns must have fresh air coming in always from outside. We ran a pipe for that, a fresh air intake, so the fire drinks outside air instead of slowly drinking the air you are breathing. A flame and a person are competing for the same oxygen in a sealed room, and you must never make them compete. Give the fire its own outside air, and the fight is over before it starts. Second, the smoke goes out. The exhaust does not belong in your room, not any part of it. We ran an exhaust pipe up and out through the wall, vented to the outside, so whatever the fire makes goes straight out into the cold night where it can hurt no one. An unvented flame dumps everything it makes into the space with you. A vented one sends it away. This is the single biggest thing that separates a safe heater from a coffin, and the original never had it, and I will not build one without it. The heat still stays in the room. It is only the breath of the fire that leaves. Third, and I want you to write this one on the wall, a carbon monoxide alarm. A cheap battery one from any hardware store, a few dollars, mounted on the wall near where you sleep. This is not optional. This is not a nice extra. This is the one thing standing between you and the quiet killer, because your nose cannot do it, and your eyes cannot do it, and the little alarm can. It will scream at you long before the poison reaches the level that hurts you, and it will scream while you sleep, which is the only time that matters. If you build nothing else in this whole video, if you take one single thing from an old man talking at you through a screen, buy the alarm. A heater without a CO alarm is a loaded thing left in a room with your children. The alarm is the answer to the boy's question, how is this not going to kill us? That is how. Fourth, you keep the flame honest. A clean flame is a quiet, blue-rooted flame that does not smoke and does not leave black soot on the glass. If your wick is too long, it smokes, and smoke is the fire telling you it is burning dirty and making more poison, so you trim it back until it burns clean. Soot on the glass is a warning, not a nuisance. When the fire starts to dirty its own window, the fire is asking for more air or a shorter wick, and you listen to it. My grandmother read a lamp flame the way some men read weather. A clean flame is a healthy fire. A smoking flame is a sick one, and a sick fire in a closed room is a danger. And fifth, the plain fire sense any traveler learns young. The box gets hot enough to burn you badly, so nothing that can catch, no curtain, no cloth, no coat drying, goes near it. It sits where it cannot be knocked over, because the whole city of Chicago burned down once from a single lamp tipped by a cow. You keep the oil reservoir sound and watch its little window so you are never surprised by it. And you never, ever fall asleep the first few nights without checking that alarm is live and the room is breathing. Fire is a good dog and a bad master. You are the master. Act like it. The boy watched me run the pipe out through the wall, the exhaust, and he asked why the man in the first video had skipped it. Because it is more work, I told him, and because a sealed room feels warmer faster, and warmer faster makes a better video. He wanted to show you the heat. I want you to still be here in the spring. That is the honest difference, and I will not dress it up. You can build this heater in an afternoon for about $100 in parts, most of it from any hardware store. Steel gutter for the body if you like, or the ammo box. The glass cut to fit, the gaskets, the wicks, the little fan, the cement board. It is not a hard build, and it is a genuinely good one. It will warm 2 bedrooms worth of space on a gallon of cheap oil a week. It will glow like a hearth and light the room at night. And it will do it with no wire to the wall and no bill on the first of the month. Everything the original promised, it delivers. It just has to breathe, and it has to vent, and it has to be watched by that little screaming alarm while you sleep. Do those 3 things, and you have a heater your grandfather would have been proud to build. Skip them, and you have built the thing the newspaper writes about in January. Let me put the money plain, because that is why most folks are watching, and it is a fair reason. A gallon of oil, bought right, runs a couple of dollars. That gallon lasts about a week at 12 hours a day. Call it $2–3 a week to heat the space. Set that against a wall heater eating electricity all winter, and you see why a man in a cold cabin, or a workshop, or a cabin off the grid entirely, sits up and pays attention. The heat is real. The saving is real. The independence from the wire is real. I have no quarrel with any of it. My quarrel was only ever with the 2 words, no fumes. And now you know why. Different oils burn different, some cleaner than others. And the cleaner burning lamp oils are worth the little extra for a thing you run indoors, because clean burning means less soot and less poison and less fuss. A dirty, cheap oil will smoke and foul the glass and lean on your ventilation harder. Buy the fuel a shade better than the cheapest, and your fire stays honest with less effort. Let me leave you with the same thing I told the boy, standing there with his hands to the warm glass in a room that was 79 degrees while the world outside was 11. The old traveling families kept warm without electricity for as long as there have been families on the road, because we had no choice. There was no wire to plug into in the middle of a field. And every last one of us learned the same hard lesson down in our bones. The fire that keeps you alive at night is the same fire that can kill you before morning. And the whole of the skill is in knowing the difference. Not fearing the fire. Fear is no use. Respecting it. Giving it air, giving its breath a way out, and keeping one honest little alarm awake while you sleep so that something in the room is always watching the fire even when you are not. Warmth is not the achievement. Any fool can make a room warm. Warmth and everyone waking up in the morning, that is the achievement, and that is the old knowing I am handing you, because nobody handed it to the families in the newspapers, and I would rather you had it. My name is Nico Roman, by the way, and the young fellow warming his hands is Tomas, in case you have wondered who has been talking at you this whole while. There's a good deal more to the both of us than I will get into today, another time. So tell me, down in the comments, how you heat your place, and where in the world you are keeping the cold out. And if you build one of these, tell me you ran the vent and hung the alarm, because I will worry about you otherwise. I read every one of them. Next, the boy and I are going to show you how the old families kept a bed warm all through a freezing night with a single stone and no fire at all in the room while they slept, which is the safest warmth there is, and it is nearly free. Subscribe so it finds you when it comes. Until then, keep the room breathing, keep the alarm awake, and never once believe any man who tells you a fire indoors has no fumes.